like an ant farm we
yes.
haven't tended
Here we
to.
go. It's working. It's going live. Everything is going exactly according to plan. And we are officially starting off this podcast in 3, 2. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are coming to you live from a couple of places here on the internet. We are coming to you live from YouTube, aka The Tube. We're also coming to you from crowdcast.io. I don't know what that stands for, but it's something definitely very cool. Or maybe you're listening to this on an audio podcast later. I don't know, in which case, we love you too anyway.
Wow. I hope.
Now, before we get into the show, we have two amazing guests for you guys tonight that we're very excited to chat about. Big fans of both their work. Had them on the show before. I'll tee them up in a second. But first, I wanted to mention, you guys might be aware we're getting to the end of the year here. Have you heard about that, Justin, Pete?
Oh, interesting. The end of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This nightmare is just winding up, hopefully.
Nope, that's not how you say it. Winding up means that it's getting ready to go even harder than usual, Pete.
Pete, what do you know? Tell us. Pete, what do you know? It's winding up?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
What we are going to do, we'll talk more about the guests that we're going to have on next week at the end of the show. But for the end of the year, we wanted to do our best of the year for comics, but we wanted to include all of you listeners and viewers out there as well. So after the show, I'm going to put up a little tweet on @ComicBookLive asking you for your submissions for best comic books of the year, things you enjoyed, things you liked. We'll call them together with our lists, and next week we'll talk about our top 10 or 11 or something like that.
11, we'll do a classic top 11. We're going to talk about our favorite comics, TV shows, locations we've been, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Man, I've been so many places. The bedroom, the
home,
bathroom.
Kitchen. Bathroom's a big one.
We'll count all of that down and much, much more. But yeah, again, tune into @ComicBookLive on Twitter and hit us up there. I'm very excited to chat with all of you about that. Speaking of things we're excited about, I'm going to welcome our first guest here into the stream. His name is Rich Douek. He is the writer of Sea of Sorrows at IDW, which is a very scary book. I'm very scared by it. Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Douek, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey.
Good.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming on. Good seeing you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Oh my gosh.
Last time we did this was in a little theater, but this is nice too.
Same sort of thing.
It's an even smaller theater.
You got to bring
Theater
your own
of the
drinks. That's
mind.
good.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a mind palace. Rich, Sea of Sorrows is very scary for me. Yes, the second issue is coming out tomorrow, so I don't want to spoil necessarily anything about that. But in the first issue, it starts off as kind of this treasure hunt in the ocean, starts to work in some very terrifying looking mermaids. And I think I can safely say that in the second issue, things get even wilder and more terrifying from there. What was the initial genesis of this idea? And what was it like working with the artist? Because it feels like such a collaboration, even more so than usually.
Well, Alex and I worked on Road of Bones. 2 years ago for us, but it came out last year, 2019. And we had a really good time working on that. We clicked really well, and we just decided that we wanted to do more, but we didn't really want to kind of do Road of Bones 2, Electric Boogaloo, or anything like that. We really liked kind of where the story ended, so we didn't want to do that, sequel thing where we explain everything and it just gets lamer and lamer. So, so what we decided to do is we were just like sat down and we're like, all right, well, what did we love about Road of Bones? We loved the historical aspect of it. We loved kind of the interplay of like, human monstrosity and real monsters. So, so that was kind of like, let's find another story that fills that same, scratch that same kind of itch. And Alex was really itching to do something set underwater. And he showed me this pinup he did of, it was like a guy in an old time diver suit getting attacked by a giant squid. And I just love that diver suit. So I just started doing a little research as to like kind of when those suits were being used. We didn't really want to do like kind of like a modern like scuba looking suit. It was like all about that helmet, like you see on the cover there. So, kind of looking back, World War One seemed like a really ripe area for another historical horror tale because, face it was like, a horrific war, probably the most horrific war like at the time. So, so that was kind of like the genesis of it. And we were also kind of inspired a lot by kind of like the old, like, I guess like you'd call them like pulp movies, or like the old like Universal horror and stuff like King Kong that was in kind of like, started like the stories that not all the films came out like between World War One and World War Two, but a lot of the kind of the stories that inspired them did. It was a sort of thing that was like World War One was such a huge war that it just had an impact on like everyone that like living in the world, like their psyche, like like the stories we told like changed, and I think that's what we found really interesting. So just as like parts of Rotobones are based in reality, we wanted to base a little bit of CSRs in reality, like the submarine they're going after called the Bremen was a real submarine that was lost at sea before the U.S. entered World War One. It was sort of like it was a German blockade running submarine that was trying to get to Washington to maybe cut a deal to buy some arms. This was while the U.S. was still neutral in the war. So, it's sort of like that thing. It was like this little kind of like gap in history. Like, nobody knew what happened to it. So we're going to tell this like crazy messed up story about where it wound up.
So you have Road of Bones, Sea of Sorrows, Air of Depression is coming next. Something like that.
Yeah,
but
Room of Sadness.
Where do you get? Write what you know, I guess.
Yeah,
right. What we all know. This book is it has such a darkness to it, and I think hearing you describe the historical context and sort of what you're drawing on, it really comes across. And all the characters seem like they're not having a great time. They are chasing this. They're so greedy, and then the art is terrifying.
Yeah. Alex just had this kind of like idea about how to draw underwater stuff where like, the thing he finds compelling about it is that it's like, it could go on for like hundreds of miles in every direction. Like you're not really isolated because you're kind of out in the open, but all you really have is that little light that you're shining around, and you can basically only see like, maybe 20 feet in front of your face, and that's your whole world. And you don't know what's going to come out of that darkness, which,
to that end, I'm curious because those who are watching on a video saw this a little bit, but there's such a strong use of black throughout, which does that come from the artist? Is that something you're putting in the scripts where you're like, hey, this page is all black except for the diver? Is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think, kind of, once we established that, like, almost all the underwater stuff is going to be this like very murky kind of horror stuff. And then to contrast that, like we do spend some time above deck, on the boat itself. And like that stuff is like a little bit lighter. So it's not, just black, but black is definitely like the element in this book. Like Rotobones had a lot of snow. That book was white, a lot of white. This book is a lot of black. I don't know if it's like overcompensating or like a reaction to that or whatever, but it kind of worked out that way. And I think it works really well. I mean, I don't really tell Alex like how to draw like the underwater environment or anything like that. That's like coming from him, like kind of like what he shows. I just sort of give him in my scripts like what's happening, what I would like people to be able to see, certain details like we have our siren monster lurking around down there, and it's like there's certain pages where I would like, we would want her to be like very prominent, like, she's definitely there. And then there's other parts where we're just like, oh, maybe there's like a hint, like, she's kind of far away, and we're not 100% sure like what we're seeing because he's not 100% sure what he's seeing, So it's a process, but at the end of the day, Alex turns the pages in, and I very rarely have like any kind of notes for him because he's just an amazing at like rendering that stuff.
Now, did you grow up on water, or do you have a lot of water experience? Because I do think, I know that's a weird question, but I do think I grew up on a lake.
Have you ever had this water stuff? I had a glass of water earlier today, and
right here,
very good. I was much less dry than usual.
Wow, there's some water right there. Good research. Because a sea is like a bathtub that goes on way further, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, but I grew up on a lake, and I do think that this we would always see how far down we could dive and do things like that. Mm-hmm. And this captures that fear, both your writing and the art, in such a way that was really evocative to me. And so I ask if you have done that in your life.
I didn't grow up on the water, but I grew up in New York City. So, it's coastal. I was at the beach like every summer. I am not old enough to have seen Jaws in the theater, but I saw Jaws at a very young age, probably too young, but it was like the 80s. So, people weren't as careful back then, but it's like, it's one of those things where like, I'll go to the beach and like, I know that it's not deep enough to have a shark or anything scary in it, but like you're walking out there and like a piece of seaweed goes by your leg and you're like, it's crazy. But Alex grew up on Cape Cod, so that's probably coming through in the art a lot. Like, he's got that, experience of
mermaids.
Growing up right on the water.
Do people read your stuff and then ask like if you're all right? Because like the people in this book are very dark. The ocean's crazy dark. There's the dark monster trying to hurt. Like, there's not a lot of light in this. There's not a lot of hope or I just, sometimes I put down the book
Pete,
and I worry.
It's not like 2020, which was a positive year, but it's just starting to wind up, as you said earlier.
It's starting to wind up.
Well, 2020 was, so dark that I just felt like our book could lighten it up a little bit.
I think you're technically
feel
correct.
Good sea adventure. Just get out there and it's like.
I know. This book's like a Beach Boys song.
Yeah,
comic book form.
I mean, like I don't think anybody's ever like, Road of Bones came out. It's not like people didn't stop eating at my house because they were eating people.
Right.
And but I think like that's like the fun thing about horror is that you can kind of go like to these really dark places and access these kind of dark parts of your personality without any consequences because it's just a story. It's like I'm not out there actually murdering people. I'd be in jail, but on the page, goodbye, you're done. Like,
good. Just a note to anybody: please keep hiring Rich, just in case.
Exactly.
So he can keep putting it on the page. This is something we talk about a lot on the show, but pacing out horror for a comic book, which obviously is still medium, but to mildly talk about spoilers, there's this great, very short but great sequence of the second issue where there's a guy reaching out silently in one panel, and the next panel he's gone. And there's something rather fascinating about reading that, not to get too haughty-taughty, but it definitely ties into the whole Scott McCloud between the gutters type thing.
Yeah.
But how did you pace that out? How do you pace out that sort of thing so you're getting scares, even though somebody can look at the full page at the same time?
Well, it's really different from like, if I was writing a script for like a horror film or something, like, because you have a kind of a different toolbox. In a movie or a show or something like that, you can use things like sound effects or creepy music to kind of build the tension up. I think with a comic, the challenge is that you don't have those tools. So you have to like think of like, what do you have? And what you do have is, like you said, pacing and basically what goes on between the gutters is kind of like what's going on in the reader's mind. So it's like, I guess the best way to describe it is it's kind of like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, you know, that as you're reading it, you're picking it up. And even though you can see the whole page, it's like, if I've got you, like, you're gonna jump ahead because there's enough kind of like mystery in what you're following along with that you're kind of like, you're going along with me. You know, it's almost like that's how I try to do it anyways, is to try to like bring people along with me. So it's like, and you know, Alex pulls a lot of that weight, and Justin Birch, our letterer, also pulls a lot of that weight, because the lettering is a big part of controlling like how the reader's eye goes across the page. It's like a subconscious thing, you know, that it's just like you're just sort of reading, and then where the next balloon pops on, your eye's like looking for it. So that's what we try. I think what we all try to do as a team is just sort of like try to lead you through the page and keep you with us. It's like, you know, if I knock you out of the story, that's kind of like the danger zone, because then you're gonna start like looking around. It's like, but it's like if I got you following along, then, you know, I think that's a big part of it. And choosing the moments that you're showing in the panels is what allows you to, like, your mind as the reader to kind of take over and see the little movie in your head, you know, of like what's going on. And I think it's cool because, you know, probably what you're imagining might even be worse than what I had in mind, you know? So,
so you have a Alex working on the book. You have a Justin working on the book. Do you have a Pete working on the book as well?
Unfortunately, Pete, I'm sorry.
Wow.
You know, there might be a Pete.
Scary for my taste. You know,
There might be a Pete somewhere at IDW that, like, I don't know, maybe
That's nice.
maybe an intern
or maybe you know, I don't want to rule it out, but
I think all Pete's are too scared to work on this book. Just scaredy Pete's out there.
So second issue comes out tomorrow. How many issues is it total, or is it ongoing?
No, it's going to be 5 issues total.
Okay.
You know, again, kind of like it's like, it's not a sequel to Road of Bones, but it's related. It's almost like if we were doing like I don't know, like a Tales from the Dark Side or an American Horror Story kind of thing. So what we're trying to do is like different stories, but like fairly self-contained, kind of like around the same length. So, or like what does Alex say? Like that, you know, that like trilogy that you did where it was like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and End of the World, or the Cornetto trilogy, where they're like, you know, they're like related, but each is like kind of its own thing. So but we have like Road of Bones is 4 issues. We've got like a little bit of a larger cast here, a little bit more kind of stuff playing out. So we're doing 5 for this time out.
Awesome.
And then we'll see.
Well, yeah, the story is great. It's terrifying. We love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations. And happy holidays. It was good seeing you, Rich.
You too. Happy holidays to you guys, and thanks for having me on, all your listeners. Hope you guys have a great end of the year, and, you know, 2021.
Here we go.
We're almost
just winding up.
Just
winding up, man.
Winding up. Watch out for that seaweed, Rich. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.
All right. Once again, that's Rich Douek, and this book is IDW's Sea of Sorrows. It's great. Second issue comes out tomorrow. It's really, really awesome.
We'll review it in the stack.
Yes. We'll review it in the stack. We'll say nice things about it. That's a little bit of a spoiler for you. But we're going to invite our second guest here into the stream. Another one of our favorite guys to have on here, Phillip Kennedy Johnson. He is about to have a huge 2021.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to talk about all the project that he's getting to be going on. Ladies and gentlemen, Phillip Kennedy Johnson, hello!
Hey guys, how's it going? Been too long.
All right, how are you doing?
Yeah,
I'm great, man. It's going really good. Staying busy. Well, I mean, you know, the world's on fire, but
Yeah. You don't have anything to do with that.
Other than everything being terrible, it's going great.
yeah, totally. You know, the ashes look real nice in my house.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's good.
That's dark. You had 2 huge announcements lately. Like, you already have a bunch of stuff going on, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to have an even bigger March because you have Marvel's Alien book is coming out in March, and also you're going to be over at DC, the writer on Superman and Action Comics. When are you sleeping?
Yeah, that's not happening. It's been away for a while, as I'm sure you guys understand in your own lives. Yeah, dude, it's going awesome. I'm really excited. I mean, it's yeah, I could not pick like two cooler projects to be a part of. I mean, I've wanted to be Superman since I was a little kid, and a huge Alien fan. And now my son is such a Superman like hardcore as well. So it's the best.
And well, let's talk about the Superman Action Comics stuff first, which, like we just said, is a very big deal. But you're starting it off with the future state stuff, which takes place after Dark Knight's death metal and gives us kind of a tease of the future. But I believe, even though it's kind of a tease, it's stuff that might happen, you are going to be tying it back to your run at the same time, right?
Yeah, the future state event, it was like singularly cool in that it gave you all this freedom to do like whatever you wanted to. I mean, the fact that it takes place in the future kind of gives it a speculative nature, you know, that you can just kind of do whatever, which is awesome. But I didn't want to tell a story that just like didn't count, right? And I wanted it to actually time that was coming. So that's what we did. So we found there's like a super team like at DC, right? Like there's like a little super group, kind of a collection of books, and we tried to tie all the future state books together with each other. So you'll see little nods to some of the other books in mine, which is fun, especially in House of L, which is the one that takes place like 1,000 years in the future. And so you see the descendants of Clark Kent like way down the line, and in that you'll see a setting from Kara Zor-El, Superwoman, that was in there. You'll see a race of aliens in there that actually are introduced in my upcoming Action Comics run. There are little allusions to things that are coming in that run. We try to tie it all together and nobody gets punished for not reading everything, but if you do read more than one book, you kind of get rewarded for it, which is kind of cool.
They might sell more books if they started punishing people. I'm just
it's time for more punishment in our comics.
Time for some disincentives, yeah.
I don't know if you're necessarily known about as this, but you've definitely done like a lot of much darker books, like Last God, very dark. Yeah. The Marvel Zombies Resurrection, real dark. Like there's hope there in each of these things, but you're not necessarily the first guy that I would think about as Superman. How did you end up getting that gig, and what's your take on the book as a whole?
Man, I mean, yeah, you would not read Marvel Zombies Resurrection necessarily think hope, capital H.
Yeah, the S doesn't stand for hope. It stands for something way more fucked up.
Totally. Well, it's a different kind of book though. So I try to wear different hats in my writing. Like I'm also writing a kid's book right now, which is also very unlike Marvel Zombies.
Oh wow.
So I try to know what I'm doing on each book, and they're all very different. Growing up, I was a huge devotee of Superman and of Batman too. Actually, like if I had to pick two back then, it would have been those two guys. And they're such different fantasies, right? Like with Batman, it's like this fantasy of like I can do anything, you know, like I can put myself on the pedestal with gods and hang out with every one of them just from like sheer force of will and endless money. But Superman is more like he's what we want to be. You know, we want to be more, we want to be better, we want to be able to help anyone that needs it, and just the guy who always knows what to do and always does the right thing. And he's just, you know, just from watching the Christopher Reeve film the first time and seeing like the credits whoosh overhead and hearing John Williams music and the big S comes on the screen, the trumpets are blaring, and you just want to like fly, you know? That's that feeling I'm trying to capture and everything. And it's very unlike a lot of other stuff I've done. I mean, I love Cormac McCarthy's work so much too, which is completely other side of the spectrum. And that was kind of what I was tapping into with Marvel Zombies Resurrection. And The Last God is kind of this big question of like, well, what if the Fellowship failed? What if we kind of take the bleakness of Robert E. Howard's worlds and George R. R. Martin's worlds and just give all the world building and love that Tolkien gave his Middle Earth stories. And well, Superman is just a completely different thing. Like I'm trying to capture that feeling that I got watching the Christopher Reeve films, like just wanting to be more, just wanting to fly, and honestly trying to capture the love I have for my little dude. He's such a hardcore fan, and I just love him so much, and he's so into it. And now with Superman having a son himself in the stories, it's almost too easy. Like I relate to it so directly, like having a kid. that's so much like John is on the page, or was when he was little. Yeah, it's just the best.
That's so nice. Just sorry to jump in. And you're an artist on the book. I saw you posted or you retweeted some of his work, and it fits what you're talking about perfect.
I know. I think you must be talking about the face shot that Daniel Sampere did. God, that dude is a monster, and he's not like famous yet, but he's so good. I feel like he's gonna be like every book he's done. Like if you just check out his work for the last like however many, like 5 years or whatever, every book he does gets better. And he just turned in stuff for Aquaman Future State is about to come out, and it's just destroying it. It's so beautiful and just clean. He's kind of, I mean, there's not like a house style in the way that DC used to have, like, generations ago, but there's people like Ivan Reis and like Gary Frank and people whose work you just kind of like see in your mind's eye for DC's work. And he is totally one of those guys. He fits like right in that style, but so clean and precise and dynamic.
It feels like a bit like Christopher Reeve in a way.
Yeah,
it
totally.
has that sort of classic Superman look that I was just like, it just lines up so hard with what you're saying. It's really exciting.
I know. He's so good. I'm at the beginning of the Superman stuff. We're doing a bunch of little arcs. Well, not a bunch, but like so the 2 Future State stories that I'm doing, and then in March when the monthlies start up again, I'm doing 2 issues with Phil Hester, who has a very different style. Like he's kind of like an artist, has very stylized approach, really beautiful. He actually he worked on a little bit on the animated series back in the day. Oh, wow. And you can kind of see that in the way that he depicts like the streamlined Superman. I mean, all of his stuff really has these very clean lines and all that. Yeah. Very traditional look. But so a 2-issue story there with Phil Hester, and then Scott Godlewski takes over art on the Superman title for an arc over there, and Daniel Sampere, the guy you're talking about, is taking over action for a pretty long arc, and then we're kind of building all that stuff up into this major Superman event that comes after all that.
Are you? There's definitely different traditions with the Superman books. Like I remember back in the day when there were 4 of them coming out, but they were kind of all telling the same story.
That's right.
Are you looking them as like, this is your chance to tell two times a month a Superman story, or are Superman and Action Comics actually separate?
They're separate. After the Phil Hester story, they're separate. Like the Hester story is an opportunity we had to tell like this, like a short one and done story to kind of get us up to where we want to go. Is like we're kind of setting the stage for both books in that one in March. So both books in March are going to be on the shelves from Phil Hester. So if you buy those 2 that month, that's the whole thing. And then at that point, it branches off into 2 stories. So after the Hester story, the story I tell with Scott Godlewski in Superman will be completely divorced from the story that we're telling with Daniel Sampere in action.
So what, I don't know how much you could say without spoiling necessarily, but I am curious just about the general tone of it. What is Superman and what is Action Comics in that case?
Is that a spoiler?
Might get you in trouble.
Yeah.
It kind of is spoilery to get into that too much, because then there's going to be a very clear direction right after that. I can say that one of them takes place primarily on Earth, and one takes place primarily off Earth. I can say that.
Okay, that's cool.
And one of them is much more involved with the relationship between Superman. I can say that. So Superman is very heavily about the relationship between Superman and John, and the action story is more focused on Clark and what's coming.
Okay. Superman has such a big supporting cast that everybody knows so well. Is there anybody other than Superman and John that you've really been enjoying playing with?
Alex is trying to dig in here.
I'm just curious. I'm not trying to gotcha you.
I know.
But I'm trying to gotcha you.
I do the same thing. I'm actually making up some new characters, and that's been the best part.
I love that. I appreciate that, because I feel like that's where we get to hear from you about what you think is either missing from Superman or just a new arena. And that's what I'm super interested in with these characters that have been around forever, is where the next move is.
That is 100% happening. I can say that. So there are a couple of characters that I've if you like pour over the entire like Superman canon, there are a couple of characters that I think are pretty cool that could be really cool. And I've like pegged one of those that I think this person needs more attention. And right now I feel like they just need more love to make them like a grade A, like big badass person. So I'm doing that. I took somebody that I think needs more love, and I'm going to try to build them up into something really rad. And there's just a kind of a corner of DC mythology, DC universe that I think has been a little underserved. And so I'm putting like all my eggs in that basket, and we're going to focus on this, and we're going to make the DC universe bigger. Like we're going to take this little corner that is currently 5%. We're going to make it like way more than that.
Wow. That's awesome.
It's going to be rad. I'm super stoked to see what people, now there's going to be some build up to it. It's not going to be like issue 1, boom, everything's changed. There's going to be a big build up to it. It's going to take a few months to get us to the point where we can really do what I want to do. So I hope readers are patient, and like, not that it's going to be like super dull out of the gate. It's going to be cool, but then the big monster thing that's coming is going to take, we got to put some pieces on the board first. So it's going to be awesome, dude. I can't wait.
How do you feel about working in an arena where Superman's identity is out there, where everybody knows that he's Clark Kent?
Honestly, I'm fine with that. I know a lot of people got real butthurt about the change and status quo, because it's a big change, right? I mean, he's always been Clark Kent. He's a Clark Kent in every movie and every comic up to that point, and it's such a huge part of who he is. I get that people are upset. I totally do, but it was honestly, for a character whose mission statement is truth and justice, it kind of made sense to me. Like the way
That's totally fair.
Yeah, the way it was executed, I didn't mind it. I mean, back when I was a kid, they weren't married either, right? Like the Clark Kent and Lois were not married, and then it was like, they're getting married, and I was like, oh, you can't do that. It's not how things are. I never really liked that was the one aspect of those comics I didn't really like. I was like, Lois is kind of lame to Clark Kent all the time. He's like the super nice dude, and she's always like, you're kind of lame. And then Superman, like the big good looking jock, comes along and saves the day, and she's like, oh, you're the man. I don't know. I always thought I didn't really speak very highly of Lois. The nice guy was kind of finishing last all the time. And then when they kind of brought that all together to Lois, to me, that made that whole thing just work way better and less cringy.
Yeah.
I never needed that part of his character. And now I kind of don't, honestly, I never really needed the glasses fedora thing anyway. Like, I'm totally fine with him telling the truth and getting it out there.
It's funny hearing you say that, because first off, we've seen the whole stat story of him, like, oh no, I have to hide in this closet and change my clothes and then go fight some crime. Like, think of all the lives he could have saved if he wasn't screwing around in the closet taking a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
For one.
Right. It's cool. It's cool that he had the other thing. Like, he's like, I'm going to save hearts and minds through my writing too. That's awesome. I love that he's not just a bruiser. He's also like this writer that tells very powerful stories. And actually, I get into that in my Future State story. We see, imagine if we did know who Clark Kent is. That means we know where Superman went to high school, where he went to elementary school, where his parents live. Like, it's all out there. So what does that do for Smallville? So we see Smallville a few years down the line after it's all out there. And we see what the Future State Worlds of War story that we're doing is kind of a love letter to the Superman 400 anthology from what years ago? Actually, I've got it. Here it is. This thing from the 80s. Any of you guys ever read this?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It looks familiar, but it's a magazine size, right?
No, actually, it's smaller. It's just like, but it kind of looks like a mag the way they printed it. And the people on it, like, listen to this. Okay. Brian Boland, Ray Bradbury, John Byrne, Howard Chaykin, Steve Ditko, Will Eisner.
Wow.
Klaus Johnson, Jack Kirby, Frank Miller, Mobius.
Wow.
It's like, awesome. It just goes on and on.
Killer.
I'm leaving out names of like legends. Like, it's this unbelievable list. And it's an anthology of stories about Superman in the future. Like, where could Superman be in the future? What could he mean to us, or, whatever. And it's like the first time I heard Bendis talking about it somewhere. It's like the first time he had read Superman as art. And that's how I remember it too. It's the first time reading the story, like really powerful, very short stories with some art that at the time I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know that I was looking at a friggin', Bill Sienkiewicz pinup, but it's all in there. And this is kind of like my Worlds of War stories are kind of a love letter to that. The first issue is you see Smallville, and it's all about how we see Superman, what he is to us. It's like my mission statement on Superman. And the next issue is how he perceives us. And it gets into that aspect of him being a writer, and what, you just see him as not just a big muscular savior, but also as like a philosophical, almost spiritual leader.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, one of the things that I really enjoy about your comics is you always have a ton of action. There's great kind of like fight sequences and tons of great stuff. Like to me, like when I'm reading that stuff, it says like, oh wow, this person is like a little kid having fun playing with things, and it really comes across in a cool way. Is that something that you're trying to do when you're writing comics? Like kind of like, oh, I want to make sure we get some badass action sequences in there, or can you talk a little bit about your style?
I love you, Pete. I really do. You're so consistent, and I love that.
Yeah.
Like as I'm writing a book, I'm thinking like Pete's going to hate this issue.
That's so funny. I love that.
But yes, there's going to be lots of action, and even in that, I know you're hearing me talk about philosophical shit, and you're like, I'm going to hate this.
Yeah, I love it.
I got started when you said Bruiser. I was like, yeah.
I know. Like, well, there's also so the stuff I'm talking about. Mikhail Hanin is drawing this shit. And he is the best. He's just incredible. And I gave him all these spreads of like insane actions that he can do, these big epic feat moments, you know, in that, even in the stuff I'm just talking about. And then the next issue is going to be the most epic Superman shit you've ever seen. Full stop.
Wow.
And then, so that's just Worlds of War. And then in House of L, my other future state thing, that is equally like kind of the same thing, where it's Scott Godlewski on the art, and it's a double-sized issue, and that story is meant to kind of feel like it's 1,000 years of future. House of L, it's like the fall. It's kind of like the Battle of Canlan, like the fall of Camelot, sort of is what that's meant to be. And there's even like iambic pentameter in there to make it feel like an old epic poem.
Wow.
Which, I know you love that shit, Pete.
Now you're speaking my meter right there.
Yeah, well, there's stuff in there to make it feel like you're reading, you know, like an old thing about Arthurian legend or Beowulf or something. But there's also these crazy action sequences. It's like, and Scott Godlewski is the most dynamic artist around. Like everything he draws looks so in motion, very much like Leonard Kirk did on Zombies, actually.
Yeah.
Like everything looks so fluid. Scott's very much like that, and so it's articulate, every little thing on the page. And then when we get into Worlds of War, like, I'm sorry, I've been talking so long, but when, like,
I love it.
You were talking earlier about my tone for the series. I thought Bendis did a really awesome job humanizing Superman, like giving us, like showing us who he cares about, like seeing him interact with the family he loves and his supporting cast, and seeing his like day gig Daily Planet, even while he's putting himself out there as Clark Kent. You see all that stuff. And I feel like it's really opened me up to go the other direction and make him as big and epic as we can. Like we're emphasizing the super and Superman now, and we need to build up to the story that I want to tell. But when we get there, it's going to be the most epic Superman thing you've ever seen.
Awesome.
In The Last God, you commit in all your work. You commit so hard to the story. It feels like to me. And in Last God, you have so much back matter, getting into like details of the world, which is so satisfying to read. How will you bring that to a book like Superman, or is there a way that you can?
I mean, that's kind of. Oh yeah, no, we are. That's how I got this gig, more or less. I mean. Mm-hmm. They can, like when we were starting to deal with the 5G stuff, back when it was all kind of very theoretical, we were still kind of figuring out where we're going to go with it. They were like, "Hey man, we've got this guy who like writes like songs and like books of religion and stuff. Like it's like a complete religious text in 4 languages that never even show up on the page because he's just psycho. So we got to bring him in to do this cosmic stuff."
So
and
funny.
that eventually kind of made its way into Superman. Like, well, these ideas that we have. Let's do it in the context of Superman, and it totally works with Superman. So now, yeah, you're gonna see more languages that don't exist that are about to exist. You're gonna see like whole mythologies spring out of nothing, because we're gonna make the DC universe bigger with this story.
So cool, Alex. New languages, Cypher.
I love it.
You love that.
I love it. I do love it, actually. I always, like Justin's saying, I always appreciate when somebody puts that extra level of insane effort into there to do that sort of thing.
It just makes the world feel more real to me. Like in Tolkien, it was always, his way in was language, right? And my way in has been music. So yeah, there's just, I want to see new cultures and stuff wherever we see new, if you're going to another planet, I feel like you should see new stuff. And it's not just, you shouldn't be seeing just soldiers, like people with armor is like, okay, I want to see I want to see architecture and like here. It needs to feel real. It needs to feel like a real place. Because even if you go to Japan, it's like this place is crazy. I've never seen any of these things before. Imagine another galaxy, and that's what I want to do with this story.
Well, that's a good segue to talk about the other thing that you have going on, which is Marvel's Aliens, which I assume at least partially takes place in space. So let's talk about that. This seems...
God, look at that cover.
Oh my God, it's amazing. This is Salvador Larroca on art, which is fantastic. This is the first in promised Alien and Predator books coming out of Marvel, which is a pretty big deal. That all said, even if this is new for Marvel, we've seen a lot of Alien stuff beyond the movies. We've seen the Dark Horse comics. We've seen other things. There's been crossovers. What is your take on it? What makes this Alien fresh, different?
Well, I mean, hats off to Dark Horse for going so creative with all their stuff. They had this modular approach where every arc was its own thing, didn't really rely on the others too much. But to that end, eventually they got like really like out of the box with their stuff, which was super cool. Mm-hmm. But though it didn't really feel of the same world as the movies to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, even Resurrection didn't feel like the others to me. Resurrection, that film, like didn't feel like it belongs with the others. It just kind of took too big a step to me. Like now it seemed implausible. And started to feel kind of kitschy. So those first two movies, everyone reveres those first two films. Even the third movie, which I actually like a lot. I think it's I thought it was a great ending for Ripley's character. I hated to lose the characters that we lost, obviously, because I felt like they were just dumped for no reason. That sucked.
Yeah.
But as far as like introducing the new kind of xenomorph based on a quadruped and seeing the new, like I'm always talking about world building, like seeing the new corner of the universe with humans that we haven't seen before, like it just felt iconic, in that way. Mm-hmm. But it's not as beloved as those first two, and I feel like there's potentially a future in which it gets retconned. Because even in the comics, right? We already had a comic. We saw a comic in which forgetting what's his name, Hicks and Newt survived. Mm-hmm. And like the screenplay that didn't get made also had Hicks and Bishop very involved. So I don't want to rely on the third movie, but I am totally relying on the first two. And I'm basically made another movie that felt like it would belong on the shelf alongside the first two films. Like I love the claustrophobic nature of the first one, where you're like just trapped on this ship with this thing that's killing us, and we can't see it. Where is it? And like it's just pure terror. And when you finally do see it, it's like the best image of terror on film ever in Giger's Xenomorph. And then the next movie, you take a step further in, and just like now you're in the nest, and you see more of them, and you can see the queen, and it develops further and further, and you can see the Space Marines kicking ass, and it's just it's that like those two separate
game over,
divisions.
man.
That's right, brother. Those two.
He's just going to be shouting things for the rest of the show.
Right. I love it.
And honestly, he shouts that most every podcast, even if we're not talking about alien stuff.
So both of those are so great, and I wanted something that took aspects of both. Like I'm not going to give up the Space Marine aspect, but I'm also not going to give up that claustrophobic thing that I really love, where it's like you're trapped in the thing with the thing that can't get out. So I borrowed heavy from both of those films. I introduced a new character that I like a lot. I think people are going to really dig him. Give him some great reasons to care about him. We're going to see, instead of seeing government sanctioned Marines with like our Marines, either work for the government, you're going to see like defense agents or security agents that work for Weyland-Yutani. And we're going to kind of explore, at least with subtext, we're going to explore this corporation as it becomes so big that it's basically like a sovereign nation. That was an aspect of the films that I was really interested by. Because I heard about meetings between like our president of the United States with like the leader of Exxon or something, and how people who watch those meetings say that they talk like peers, basically. Like this, the head of Exxon is not subservient to the president or to leader of any nation. There's like their own thing because they're so friggin' powerful. So anyway,
it's interesting to hear you going in that direction because you have a military background, so it feels like, I'll get a military guy. He'll attack some aliens. We're done. But it sounds like you're challenging yourself a little more in terms of politically, in terms of just the setting of everything and the characters and everything like that.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's been done so much. Just see, okay, that second movie with all the kicking the ass and all that stuff. Let's just do that again. Like that's been done so much, like in the comics and the video games and everywhere. Just the iconic image of the guys with the sleeveless guy with the helmet and the big awesome gun and the xenomorphs. Like we've seen that so much, and it's awesome, and that's why. but we can't have just that. I mean that that last video game sucked, and if it didn't, we just can't. Sorry, not Isolation. Isolation's great. We can't just rely on that imagery to get us through. It has to be more than that. So I just kind of thought about the through lines, like what through lines do I care about? And the through lines for me are the development of the xenomorph, but not starting off crazy, because this is the launch of the book, right? So I'm not going to start out like boom, they're flying, and it's, I wanted to start more like the films. And then see where it goes. We're going to see the xenomorphs kind of slowly develop and see how creative we can get. But we're also going to see the development of the android culture the way that they did in the movies. I thought was really great. We're going to take the next step after that second film, like from Bishop, like what next? We're going to see the government stuff I was talking about, where Weyland-Yutani becomes more and more powerful. Those are through line. They're not like on the face of it, the story themselves. They're just kind of like the texture that kind of put the pieces on the board the way we need them to be for the story. But at the core of it, it's about a guy trying to save his son, and about the prices that he's paid to be a part of this company, and what they ask of him, and what he's done, like the coming to reckoning with what he's done.
Wow. And so when you do that, we're going to get the corporate songs that they sing in the boardroom.
The jingle, the jingle that comes on TV, right?
Since this is at Marvel now, and you've written, this is a spoiler for Marvel Zombies Resurrection, but you've written about the Brood. Are we gonna have a scene of them coming together and like pointing at each other and kind of doing a mirror game or something like that?
Right.
I see you.
Like a literal tango. No, this is not a spoiler. Like, this is just me talking as a fan. This is not a conversation we've had at Marvel, but it is funny to think about, like, what a colossal ripoff the Brood was back in the day. and now they've got the real deal. Like, how's that going to work? Like, if they, not to say that the story is happening in the 616, it's not. Yeah. But, if we were to do that someday, are we just going to pretend the Brood aren't out there? Are they going to have to bring them in? Or how's that going to work? Yeah. That would be fun.
We do have a question here over on YouTube from OG. Asked, is the Predator going to show up?
Not in my story.
Okay. Interesting. Seems open there. Let's talk about Last God, because that's also wrapping up, I think, based on DC's schedule, if I have it right. Issue 11.
11 came out today.
Which is awesome. I don't want to spoil anything about it. We're going to be talking about it in the stack, but things get very, very dark. As you're heading towards the end of this arc here, what has the experience been like? What's it like to wrap up at least the first part of this enormous story?
God, it's been amazing. As you guys know, we talked about a ton. We have to get into it, but how much work went into just fleshing out all the stuff you don't even see on the page. Oh, man. There's all these arcs that exist already behind the scenes that you haven't seen yet of these other characters that lived centuries before that. I've got some ideas of where these characters could go later, the ones that make it out. It's been amazing, but it's also cool to think about how much left there is to do if people want to see it,
I love hearing you or seeing you describe it. It's sort of that, like, the burden of, like, God, I got to tell these stories. I need to get them out. They're haunting my brain.
Yeah, like the clock's ticking, like I could get COVID at any moment. Oh, no. I forgot. We beat COVID already. We had this vaccine, so nobody's sick. I forgot.
Yeah, there you go.
That's over. It's over.
I'm sure you can talk about this, or maybe you don't know anything about this, but there certainly seemed to be a tease in Donny Cates' run on Thor that there was a tie between Marvel Zombies Resurrection and what he has going on with Thanos and everything else. Is there anything we should be looking at from Marvel Zombies Resurrection for potentially setting up something big at Marvel down the road?
No, honestly, there's nothing in the miniseries that's already out that connects deliberately with what's being done outside of that. It was kind of its own story. But as we know in comic and Big Two, especially, like the different multiverses tend to find each other, So I think there's a pretty there's a pretty real possibility that those could marry up at some point. And we could see nods to Resurrection in other books coming up, but there's nothing that I put in there with coordination with anyone else in any other books.
Gotcha.
Okay.
This is certainly more than enough books that you have going on right now, but anything else you want to tease, anything else you want to plug that's coming up? Or
Oh man, I do have one more coming out from the big two later this year. That's going to be pretty rad. I can't talk about it yet. It's going to be kick-ass. Let's see, Killman's already out there. It's already on shelves now. I co-wrote that with Steve Orlando, and that was really cool. That's a story that I feel like kind of matters. It's about an LGBTQ MMA fighter that is outed and has to he loses everything, has to fight his way back. I'm very proud of that book. It's on shelves now.
Oh, wow.
Let's see, Last God 11. So last issue of the first book of the Feldspire Chronicles, Last God, comes out next month, and then that one's wrapped up. And it ends with a song, which I thought you'd appreciate. And yeah, and it's really
When's the album drop? When's that Last God mixtape?
Yeah. Actually, my day gig with the Army Field Band, they did a thing on me. They let me do a video with featuring my comic music, which was really cool.
I saw. I think you posted that,
awesome.
right? Or I saw.
I did at some point. At some point I posted it. So anyway, I digress. Let's see. No, I think that's all I can talk about. I've got the Superman stuff and Alien, and then another one coming.
More than enough stuff. That's awesome. Yeah. Phillip, congratulations on everything. Thanks for coming on the show.
So cool,
Thank you so much. And shout out to Rich too. I've read Sea of Sorrows and it's kick-ass. So if you're watching this, check out Sea of Sorrows. Rich is the man, awesome. And that book is really good.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's scary.
All right. Have a good night. Good talking to you.
You guys too. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
Anytime, man.
All right, there we go. No, I cut him off again.
Well,
Phillip Kennedy Johnson, everybody. Again, two things to plug. Last God is out currently. Marvel Zombies Resurrection just wrapped up, and it's awesome. And in March, you can look forward to Marvel's Alien, as well as Superman and Action Comics at DC Comics, of course. That is going to be kicking off. And before that, his Future State books are going to be kicking off throughout January and February, taking place after Dark Knight's Death Metal. So lots of stuff going on.
I do hope he gets to tell more Last God stories because the world he created is phenomenal and the art is so cool.
All right. I think we're going to move to our next section, which is my favorite section because you all make it up. It's your audience question.
Yes.
And for your audience questions, it's very simple. You could probably figure this out, but if you're over on the YouTube, just drop a question in the comments there. I'm keeping one eye on it. Over on Crowdcast, drop a question and ask a question, as many of you have already done, and we'll get through those. But two things to mention, before we kick this off with the audience questions. This is one thing I was keeping an eye on. I was hoping this happened before the show, but it happened during the show. Now, I don't know if you guys remember about like a month or 2 months back, I talked about our YouTube subscribers, how it had taken us years, maybe even a decade to pass 6,000 subscribers.
Yes.
And then last week I announced on the show that we passed 7,000 subscribers. Just now during the show, we passed 8,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
Ramping up, baby.
So I'm sure that pace will definitely keep up constantly nonstop.
That's what going viral is. That's what going viral is. I gotta check out this YouTube site. I guess
it's good. There's a lot of videos on there of
there's
cats.
Yeah, there's also videos of how to grow a beard that Alvin's following along with. Really,
every day I check in with it, and they're like, "Great job."
Oh, it talks to you. I think
it talks to me.
I think you're looking in the mirror. I think you're looking in the mirror, Alex.
But I did want to say, anybody who's watching on YouTube or anybody who's checking it out later on YouTube, thank you for subscribing. We appreciate it. You are awesome. Yeah. That is so cool.
So good.
Let's get to questions here.
Oh, we should talk about what we're drinking.
Oh, we should talk about what we're drinking.
Alex. I thought you said you had two
the second thing was about what we were drinking. So thank you, Pete. Do you want to kick it off? Because it sounds like you have something terrible going on based on what we talked about before the show.
Some sort of NyQuil Mountain Dew combination.
It's the new Mountain Dew Mary mashup. So I had to buy that right away. And it's not good. It is not good.
What are they mashing up? Santa's elf blood? And...
I just don't know who's taste testing in Mountain Dew because some of these new flavors, are they just like, fuck it. Maybe
You feel like
it'll
your local bodega is pranking you. They're like printing labels and nonstop.
Yeah.
What is it? So it's Merry Mashup. Is it cranberry Mountain Dew with like some cinnamon and nutmeg or something?
It says
You're always pushing nutmeg, dude. Let the nutmeg rest.
All right, it's like
That's
a
a nut
candy
one.
cane. Does it taste like a candy cane?
no, it's cranberry pomegranate flavor with other natural flavors.
Awful.
Wow. What are those secret super natural flavors?
You know
they
what?
don't
I
make
think
those?
it's actually the thing ruining the Mountain Dew is the natural flavors.
Yeah, that's what it is. But anyway, I'm drinking rum and this new flavor of Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Great.
what do
How
you
do you
got
know when
going
the new flavor of Mountain Dew comes out? Is there
I
a
got-
scent? Is it like
It's
you
just
feel it
like
in your
a certain aura that I got a little pep in my step, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then I head down to my local bodega.
There's
You
a
follow
tingle
the
in my
scent, sort of just wafting through the air
yeah,
like a
yeah.
hobo.
Happy Le Pew style. There's a tingle in my taint. There must be new Mountain Dew flavor.
What are you guys drinking?
I got the crisp from
Crisp.
6 Point. It's Crispmas. And so I'm drinking.
See what
crisp.
you did there.
I'm drinking a Brooklyn Defender IPA.
Oh,
My
nice.
wife got that. She was like,
My wife.
she was like, yeah, that'll be good for your little comic book show.
Oh,
Wow.
We're divorced
Little.
now.
You know, it's been coming for a long time. She's crossed us one too many times.
Oh man.
But
Get rid of that clown.
Hey, don't you dare say that about Marnie.
She's a clown.
Here we
know,
go. Let's go to some
You
questions.
shouldn't get rid of her.
Straight Bullet wants to know what's the Defender of the Year Stout IPA. This is a Defender IPA. It's a golden IPA. It's pretty good, actually.
Golden.
Defender's good.
Yeah. All right, here we go. This is from Jay Sinison. Is there a Patreon level where Pete will call my kids and tell them the truth about Santa Claus for me?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Whatever number you think is fair, I will have no problem doing that.
Oh, my God. Terrible.
I love that because it would be, imagine a very short interaction. Be like, hey, he's bullshit. Get a life. Grow up. Click.
For any children listening to this, I apologize. Santa Claus is real.
Yes, he is.
I don't apologize for you saying bullshit, though.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
All right, speaking of Christmas stuff, Kevin says, what are comics that, while not directly related to the holiday, would you suggest for a Christmas read?
Nice. That's a great question.
This is an absolutely terrible thought that you shouldn't do, but the first thing I thought about was blankets because it takes place mostly in winter and there's a lot of snow, but that would be very depressing and sad.
Yeah, Jesus, man.
Yeah, you want something fun.
Punisher Christmas is a great one. You know,
Would it Punisher Christmas? See, I feel like we often recommend similar things. So let's try to break out of our cycle and really
break out. All right.
I might say Stargirl just because it has like a lot of warmth and family to it.
That's very nice. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, this is sort of from downtown, but old Will Eisner stuff. I feel like is
the Spirit, the great one. Yeah,
is really sentimental in a nice way, and it's about people gathering together and reaching across sort of the boundaries of not knowing people, and it feels very of the season.
I just want to ask you guys a question. When Rich said, when he was talking in his interview, and then he said danger zone, did anybody else just start singing in their head highway to the danger zone, or is that just me?
No, I didn't, but I think that's fair.
Okay.
Pete, these are the questions you usually ask because when we're not still doing the show. So why don't you
I've been drinking.
Yeah.
Joe kind of made a joke about this in the comments, but Klaus, I know that's very specifically Christmas, but Klaus by Grant Morrison, at least the first book is a lot of fun. After that, in typical Grant Morrison fashion, it goes insane, but the first one is enjoyable. It's Battle Santa.
I was talking about this, I think, in the Slack about how, or maybe it was on the show, about how Santa Claus, an X-Men comic made Santa Claus a mutant, which I found to be very odd and sort of bad for all sides.
I like how
it was weirder also how he got the legacy virus.
Yes.
He's
the one that injected it and died.
Yeah.
I also like how we've been doing the show so long you can't tell if it's Slack or our show anymore.
Honestly, I just close my eyes and start talking when I wake up, and then someone puts me to bed.
That's great. I agree with Josh in the comments. Mouse Guard 1152 is also a great.
Yeah. Let's go over to YouTube. We have a couple of questions already over there. Agitato. Let's see if we can talk. I don't know if we can talk about this yet. I don't know if we can talk about this yet. You guys let me know. But what did you think of the appearance of Spoiler in the season finale of Mando? Are we out of the spoiler zone yet on this one? Can we talk about this?
What are we waiting for? God himself to show up and tell us?
I don't know. All right. If you don't want Mandalorian finale spoilers, just tune out for the next 5 minutes or so. Let's get into it. You guys both watched it, I assume.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes. As we all know, big deal. Moff Gideon showed up, and so did Baby Yoda. And I assume that's the spoiler they're talking about.
Exactly. Because I didn't watch the whole thing. Mandalorian, he's the helmet guy, right?
I'm not 100% sure. I've only watched one episode and only just the middle of that episode.
Well, no, I watched all the Mandalorian, but I've never seen any other Star Wars material, so I don't know what the big deal is.
Yeah. Who was the guy with the fuzzy face that didn't move that much?
Yeah. Man, that one guy that showed up was really good at killing robots. Yeah, is he some sort of robot murderer?
So here's my thoughts on it. I think it was, we're talking, of course, about Luke Skywalker showing up in the Mandalorian. I know, I'm sorry. But I thought the way that it was filmed, excellently paced, very well revealed. I usually watch the episodes in the morning so I can talk to my writers at work about it. And then I watch it at night again with the kids. And I liked it better the second time through, where I wasn't like early in the morning being like, are they really going to do this? Are they going to go for this? Are they going to like, without that anticipation off, it worked a lot better. And I was able to focus on emotionally what it meant for Grogu and Din Djarin, which I thought was great. That was awesome.
And real quick, I just want to correct you, Alex. You said you watched it in the morning, but you told me, perhaps in confidence, that you woke up in the middle of the night and knew that you had to watch
this. Happens. It's I don't claim anything pseudo-mystical, the Force forcing me or anything like that, but when Mandalorian is on, I wake up without an alarm at like 3:02 in the morning. It's very upsetting. I wish it wouldn't happen. I like to sleep.
That's some low-stakes spider sense tingling, but I love it.
But yeah, I woke up early, and I like that, and I think it makes perfect logical sense for Luke Skywalker to show up, be the Jedi there. But there's also the aspect of, I wish it was a Luke Skywalker, because I'm tired of seeing the Skywalkers. They're involved in everything. It makes the galaxy smaller. And also the CGI looked bad, and that was distracting as well. So,
it was video game Luke Skywalker, so you know.
Okay. All right,
he flew right out of the Star Wars game.
Yeah. What did you guys think? That's my take.
I was like, when I saw the green lightsaber, I was like, no. And then they showed the hand. I was like, shut the fuck up. And then when he, took off the hood and had the reveal, I was like, oh! And I was very taken. I didn't kind of like see it coming, because I was like, it's got to be that one Jedi lady we just saw on the docks and we don't know who she is. I was
just really quick. The lady you saw on the docks, that was Mercedes Vernado, aka Sasha Banks. She was the Mandalorian that got very summarily and very off-screen killed in the finale, or shot a bunch of times.
Okay. Well, either way, I didn't think they would do that. I did not think they would do that. So I was really caught off guard, and I was like, "Oh, looks not that great, but still pretty cool."
I thought your point about pacing, Alex, I thought it was paced so perfectly, because you went through like several stages of reaction. It was like you saw the X-wing, you were like, huh. Because we saw some X-wings earlier in this season.
Yeah, I thought it was
it could have been one of those old
guy with the beard. This guy from Superstore.
Yeah, I love those old beard guys. I want to see more about them. Like, what are those dad dudes doing later? So you saw the X-wing, and then you saw the cloak. You're like, okay, a lot of cloaks up there, and And then when I saw the belt buckle, I don't know why that really threw me off. And I was like, that's Luke.
What?
Then, yeah,
the belt buckle.
It was, and it's like this sort of like Han, Luke belt, like that era belt buckle. I don't know. That got me.
Wow.
And then eventually the reveal. I thought it was really done well. I know people were bothered by the special effects. I'm fine with it. Like what they did the best they could. Like it didn't take me out of it as much. I mean, it's just a testament to how well done the rest of the special effects on this TV show, not movie, TV show, are for the rest of the season.
There was also there was a cumulative effect at the same time, and it sounds like I'm a little more negative on the tying it to the saga than you guys were. But the fact that it was like Luke Skywalker, then R2-D2, and then we got a post-credit sting where it was Jabba's palace. I was like, it's enough. There are other locations in this galaxy. I was
surprised about the R2.
No, I mean, he's everywhere.
I was so happy to see him.
Did you hear the theory? Which is, I laughed out loud when I heard this. This is so ridiculous. But that R2-D2 and Grogu are talking because R2-D2 is the one who saved Grogu by stuffing Grogu inside of him during Revenge of the Sith to take him to safety.
Oh.
Doesn't seem likely. Sure. Well, I mean,
I thought it was interesting they were talking because Yoda never liked R2. He would always hit him with this, cane stick thing.
Yeah. The other theory that I saw floating around to your point, Alex, was that the reason that they're so after Grogu's blood is so they can put metachlorians into the future clones of Palpatine. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ugh. That would be a bummer if this somehow spins back into justifying a bunch of Rise of Skywalker stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if it's that or it's Snoke or whatever it is, I just don't need it. And to answer Pete's Punisher Slippers question here, R2 is hollow. Yes, he is like a chocolate Easter bunny where it looks delicious and it looks like, it's going to be this solid piece of chocolate. There's no chocolate inside there.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of old garbage inside. He's got a Luke's old hand.
Yeah. I mean, because he did store Luke's lightsaber in there, and then maybe he's got a couple of hands for different activities.
What do you think? Are you worried about, or were you worried about Bib Fortuna's weight gain? Do you feel like
I thought that was? I liked how realistic it was. It was like I was like, that guy's been stuck in a pandemic for a while. I appreciate how he looked. I liked it. It was perfectly done.
Yeah, COVID-19 is actually a droid in the Star Wars universe.
I was very confused by the ending. I don't know if we'll get into it in Week in Geek or whatever, but
we can talk about it right now. We don't need to hold off on it. What do you mean?
I was like, wait, is Mandalorian over and now we're getting a book above that? Like, I thought that's what season 3 is.
Pete, if you're confused, all you have to do is literally Google any of those words that you saw at the end of the screen.
No, I agree with Pete. I think it was confusing the way that they rolled it out. And then the way that they referred to it as well online was confusing, where I saw that and I was like, okay, they're doing the Book of Boba Fett, so the Book of Din Djarin is over for now. We're moving on to that. That's season 3. That makes sense to me.
What? No. Of course it's a new series. They expanded this universe like crazy a week ago.
I know, but they literally, at the end of the season, Grogu leaves, they close the door. Like, the door closes.
Yeah,
so I gotta be honest.
The elevator closed. It was like
the series is not the Adventures of Din Djarin. The series is Din Djarin and Grogu. Like, that's the emotional crux of the thing. They resolve that. They're done. I would love how ballsy it is if they finish The Mandalorian for now and then moved on to something for else. I think that'd be great.
I don't want to see Mando without Grogu.
Yeah,
maybe he can meet another little version.
Sure,
of
there's a lot of little stuff. There's
little
chickens
Watto.
Exist in this.
Little Watto.
Hey, it's me, baby Watto, eh? Butaladoya.
Oh my God.
To Pete's favorite guy, Jon Favreau, on I think it was Good Morning America, in my mind, further confused it, where he was like, we're launching this new show called The Book of Boba Fett. It's coming out in December. He didn't mention this part because Mando Season 3 was supposed to come out in December. They announced that. And he was like, it's coming out, and then we're going to go into production of Mando Season 3. Book of Boba Fett is the next chapter of this story. I was like, all right, so it's the next season of it, but then you're taking a break, and then you're going to do Mando Season 3. In my mind, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter. They're calling it a different show, but it's just physically taking the space of the Mandalorian.
It's all just different Mountain Dews flowing from the same tank. So just drink it up. All right.
There's a big, horrible cow out there at a factory that's just spewing Mountain Dew out of its udders.
Just
you're
more.
Sucking it up.
Give me more. Let me suck that blue milk right out of the big old cow.
Wow.
I do, before I lose track of this, over in the comments, which I think I've already done actually, but I wanted to mention it. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here we go. The Big in the comments says, "Hey guys, quick update. My daughter got an 83 on her Spider-Man paper. Thanks for the help."
Yeah. Hey,
There you go.
good.
Yeah, for those of you who don't remember, we were instrumental in, I think, writing this paper a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, I ended up writing it for a small fee on the side as a classic side gig. So I'm pretty psyched I got an 83 on it.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I would never take that grade away from.
That's awesome.
Fine work.
Congratulations to your daughter. Let's go over here to Crowdcast again. Nick Kelly says, "Why is it that comic books have never risen out of the niche market? And what would happen if the industry, if it suddenly became hugely popular and mainstream?" That's a great question. I'll say on the second part, there is no better time for it to have become hugely popular and mainstream than the past 10 to 15 years when movie and TV have been the dominant form of culture, and it just hasn't happened. So I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say that it won't. I mean, it did. The glut of the 90s when comic books were the most popular. They sort of wasted it. It became the collectible market exploded. So it was all about feeding that market with a bunch of alternate covers and special wraparound foil, hologram, all that stuff.
With the trading card.
Yeah, this is mildly related, but I have a copy of Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man #1. How much would you guys say that's worth? A lot of money?
Yeah.
That's Pete. He's the collector here.
Yeah. I hate to break it to you. Well, what kind of condition is it in? And is it graded? Oh.
It's been under my toilet for
every morning I use it to stir my coffee.
Why would you do that?
I don't have any spoons.
I have so many questions about like how you could steer a coffee with a comic book.
I do think comics are in a good. They're not selling a crazy amount, but they're in a good spot for the fans who are reading them, the creators who are creating them, as just being a step in the development of another media property that helps everyone, tells great stories. Like more popularity. I don't know what that gets me, the comic book fan.
Yeah, it gets me upset if things become too popular.
Well, the other thing, this is kind of doing a side to your question because I know what you're talking about here, but the thing that everybody forgets is comics are very mainstream. It's just not DC and Marvel comics. It's Raina Telgemeier. It's A Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It's Cat Kid and Dogman, which my son is obsessed with. And those books sell in the hundreds of thousands or millions of copies.
That was a nutflex, dude. We get it. You got kids. Okay. Congrats.
I don't think that was necessarily a
Nutflex.
too much of a pause there.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a pause.
Wrong pause.
The way that sounder comes through, it comes from really back here, like in my teeth. It really rattles my whole mind.
Yeah, I got to cut out that pause at the beginning or something.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we need to talk to the sound engineer, who I think is you, Alex.
No, it's his beard.
Yes, I'm working on it. This question from Nelson Martinez over on YouTube.
Hey, Nelson.
What movie are you guys watching on the 25th, if any movie? Wonder Woman 84, Soul, or other? Well, I mean, I've already seen both of them, so I don't know.
Wow.
Wait, what's that nutflex there?
I mean, that was a little bit of a...
Nutflex.
Yes. I've seen both Soul.
Yeah, no one doesn't think you've seen them, Alex. Just so we're clear, no one's like, "Oh, Alex is lying." No, we know.
Yeah.
Okay, so which one would you recommend that we watch?
Of the two, I mean, they're both fine to watch. I think Soul is good. Like, it's solid throughout. It's a Pixar movie that I think. I mean, I didn't cry at it, and I've talked to other people who've seen it, and they didn't cry at it as well. So, like, if that's your thing, you're going into a Pixar movie being like, I'm going to have a good cry.
Did you mentally cry?
No, it's sweet, it's funny, the music is pretty good, the animation is good, but it feels a little smaller and a little less thought out than other Pixar movies, I think.
Wow. I heard if you don't cry, it means you don't have a soul.
Yeah.
Right. No, but it's good. Like, I enjoyed watching it, and it's pretty funny and pleasant throughout. And Jamie Foxx is good. Tina Fey is good. Pete, I think you'll really enjoy the music in particular.
Nice.
I thought it was fun. And there's a cameo from a little rat that our friend Matt Little knows.
Ooh.
If you know, you know.
Oh
If
yeah.
you know, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, man, I don't think he makes any money on that. So
No, it's very sad.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
line of the night in the comments from Aaron on referencing nut flexes says Alex is a flex nut.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Absolutely.
You are. You've got a problem. But let's brass tacks it here. Come on, Wonder Woman, the first one or the second one better?
First one definitely is better. I'm honestly
you,
yeah. No, I went in really wanting to like it, and
You just grinched.
I'm really sorry. I'm very no. I really wanted to. Like, I sat down and like, here we go. Can't wait. I'm very excited. There's good things about it. Pedro Pascal is great.
If you spoil anything, I will fucking drive over your
Here's
house.
the thing. I think, like, without getting too much into spoilers,
Do not spoil this.
Here's something that I think comic book fans are going to know what nuts for. Pedro Pascal plays Maxwell Lord, and what's the one thing you want out of Maxwell Lord as a character? That's right, nosebleeds. And yes, Pedro Pascal bleeds out of his nose at one point in the movie.
Just one tiny little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit, and he has to wipe it out, just like Maxwell Lord in the comics. Everybody's very charming. Gail Gadot is charming. Chris Pine is charming. Pedro Pascal is charming. Kristen Wiig is funny. I really like. Same as the first movie where it kind of just fell apart in the final act. This one is Pete's leaving. He had just left the podcast. I had fun watching like the first 2/3, and then it just in the last act it takes forever. And
wait a second, are you saying there's a DC movie that falls apart in the third act? Holy shit! I'm gonna have to give it a look.
Yeah. I by no means am I saying don't watch it. I had a pleasant time. I'm glad I watched it. It's just like. I don't know. It doesn't have anything like the No Man's Land sequence for the first movie, which is absolutely wonderful. And it kind of loses the focus of war, I think. It, like, gave it this very clear mission statement, which is much murkier in this movie. But the style stuff, they go for making it look like an 80s movie. They have multiple makeover montages.
Very into that.
There's a lot of cheesy movie stuff. So I think particularly for like, waking up on Christmas morning, being a little tired, getting a cup of coffee and watching it.
This is the most insulting thing you said.
Well, here's the other thing is they're not putting it on until noon Eastern time, so you can't even do that.
Movie. Yeah. It's a perfect movie to watch after you've had 7 eggnogs and your eyes are fully closed.
I was disappointed. I wanted more out of it, but I still think it's definitely worth it as a movie, and there's some good images in it. I'm still talking about it, Pete.
Okay. Hey, after you go back and re-listen to this, Pete, because after you covered your ears, he said it was great.
Yeah, Pete can't hear you.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done talking about it.
Okay, good.
After you covered your ears, he said it was great. So you should definitely.
I don't want to hear anything. I want to see it fresh. With none of Zalvin's bullshit in the back of my head.
Ooh, bratty little Pete.
You literally asked me.
I just want to know if it was better than the fucking first one. That's all I asked.
And he gave you a hard no.
Josh says, are you saying if you didn't have expectations, would you have been happy with it? Pete's got again. Yeah. Man, I don't know. That's a tough thing to say. I think like I went in wanting to enjoy it. And definitely like the opening sequence. I was like, yes, this is Wonder Woman. This is great. I'm ready to have my emotions wash over me. And it just slowly kind of petered out by the end of the movie where I was like, all right, there's a lot of stuff going on here. This is fine.
Yeah. Great. There you go.
There you go. What are you going to watch, Justin?
I have maybe we'll watch Soul. I like watching It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas Day.
Aww.
So I'm going to go do that.
How's the Charlie Brown run going?
Wow. Well, let me just say, we are finishing. We recorded a Zoom version of our Charlie Brown Christmas special, which we do live every year, and we are going to release it tomorrow.
Wow, nice.
So that's definitely something to check out. It's really fun and funny, especially if you like the Charlie Brown Christmas special. It's great.
Cool. Cool. Pete, what are you going to watch first on Christmas?
Wonder Woman, motherfucker.
Yeah. It's not on until noon, though. So what are you going to do before that?
Just start drinking.
Oh, man. There we go.
Well, perfect. That's just what Alex said you should be ready to be doing while you're watching it.
Excellent. We got a question from Bandito740 over here. Alex, what do you do with all the promotional stuff you get? Justin, how did the fantasy team end up? And Pete, how are you going to spend that sweet $600?
Great questions.
Yeah. Promotional stuff, I mostly take it and throw it in my closet. Justin, over to you.
Fantasy team, I'm in the finals playing against one of my good friends. I just beat my brother last week. I got to get a win in here. This would be rooting for Kyler Murray, Derrick Henry, and a couple other random people.
Pete, $600. What do you
I like
do with
that.
that?
Anytime
Mostly
I
Mountain
get,
Dew?
yeah, anytime I get government money, I like to buy illegal things that I shouldn't buy with it.
Smart. Like that bag of knives you brought to the Philly Comic-Con a couple years ago.
Yeah, there's something like a bag of knives. You know what I mean?
That was still one of the craziest things that's ever happened. Jay Citizen says, Christmas on Krakoa. Who is the Grinch? Who is so surprisingly super into Christmas?
Ooh, good question. I think Mr. Sinister has a lot of Grinch.
Oh, really?
Really?
I would say the other thing.
yeah,
I
I
bet
was
he's
gonna say.
surprisingly into Christmas, but just some way to get people's DNA. He's like,
I guess he's the Grinch who's into Christmas to fuck
Yeah.
people over some other way. Yeah.
Wolverine, right? Is the Grinch, I feel like, and then he gets won around somehow. No, Pete?
No.
You think he's into Christmas?
Yeah, I think Wolverine's into Christmas. He's a nice person. Yeah, I would feel like someone evil, completely evil, would be the Grinch, like Apocalypse or Scott Summers.
Well, it needs to be. Man, you snuck that in there right at the
Yeah,
end.
really close to the mic.
Yeah, just say it if you guys were paying attention. You know.
Yeah, great point, Josh. There are nice people who don't like Christmas. In your face.
Joe says, now that the X-Men are so reclusive, what does that mean for Kitty Pryde's annual Chinese buffet superhero get-together with all the other Jewish heroes? I'll say, first of all, she's mostly not allowed on Krakoa and can't go through the gates, I believe, still, so she'll be fine. She can go to New York or something like that. And second of all, that sort of stuff, speaking as a Jewish person, you invite all sorts of other people. It's always better. This isn't exactly that, but Passover is always better when you invite non-Jews and people ask questions about things. And that's kind of the joy of the holidays.
It's Passover. There's questions galore. There's a lot of details there.
Here we go. This is from, sorry, we missed this, Josh. Wanted to know, do you have any interest in revisiting Warlords of Appalachia? Next time he's on, we'll ask him about that. This is from Pete's Punisher Slippers. Pete, what do you think of Alex's beard? Hold on. Pete, I know normally you're very reserved about this stuff. Don't hold back, okay?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the fact that it's happening and you're allowing it to happen. You know, I feel like the in-between stages of a beard can be very itchy and not worth it. But if you kind of stick it out through that, you're rewarded with something that is soft and fun to kind of like make weird poses with while you're thinking.
So kissable. Pete, let me ask you, do you think I should grow
your patchy weird ass thing out? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you looked a little bit more mature with facial hair because right now you look like a weird teen who's had some tough years.
Oh, okay, interesting. A cool teen who's had some good years.
No, I didn't say cool. I didn't
Okay.
say that.
Interesting. Let's see. We got another. Sorry, I missed it again. Just a bunch of comments about Wonder Woman over here, who goes into a movie without expectations, especially a sequel.
Yes.
Agitato says, when I watch Wonder Woman, I'll expect Gal Gadot to be hot, but not as hot as Linda Carter used to be, and other things like that. And let's end up with this one from Joe. At this point, should we all be resigned to all of Star Wars will always be related to one family in some way? I gotta say, I mean, I would have thought
I hope not.
The Mandalorian would shy away from it. Clearly it did not, but they're launching so many Star Wars series at this point. They can't, right? Like, not everything could be tied back to
You
the Star
imagine
Wars.
if every end of all the new episodes is a loop reveal?
Well, I do think it's tricky because the whole mythology is built around Luke's discovery of the Force. We discovered the Force alongside Luke. So I think there's always going to be the tendency to return to that discovery. And that's like the text of Star Wars. So it's hard to avoid. But I do think there are like to your point, Alex, there are so many new things coming that they'll find new ways in, especially now that they can't go back over these bridges that many times again. Like, you can't have Luke show up and be the Deus Ex Machina to pull Grogu out in the next series. They can't keep doing the same thing, so they'll do something else.
Yeah, I mean, there's the series The Acolyte coming from Leslie Headland, which takes place at the end of the High Republic era. And we don't know much about it, but it focuses on female Jedi, maybe, I think, that are possibly flirting with the dark side. And that feels like the sort of thing until one of them is like, and my last name is Starkiller, but I'm going to change it to Skywalker, which would be annoying. But I think, like, there's a possibility of moving in other directions there. So I really do hope they get there. And that is it. It is a new hope. That is it for your audience questions. Thanks, everybody. Woo woo.
Thank you.
And now we're going to move to our next section, which is trivia. And for that, we're going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right.
Pete LePage, the star of trivia.
Oh, yeah. All right. So this is the part we give back to you, the lovely audience. It's an opportunity to win $25 free in the form of a gift card to Midtown Comics Online. So all you want to do is put like a first hand up or a hand up in the comments.
Or hand up or me. Could be over on YouTube.
Hey,
could
pick
be
me.
Series of consonants and vowels.
Yeah.
A scream. Just
you could just write the Book of Porkins or something. You know, it's just something fun that you would want to write.
Pete, you could just pick somebody random and force them into the stream.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a hand up over here from Nelson Martinez over on YouTube.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. There we go. So, Nelson, I'll explain this for you, and then I'll turn it back over to Pete. You are going to get a chance to win a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. What you're going to do is put your answers in the comments. Since you're on YouTube, there's going to be a little bit of a delay. So, Pete is going to tell you a story or something like that.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Zalvin.
Here we go. Well, should we start this trivia off then?
Yes. Waiting for there we go. Today's trivia is my last dedication to the late, great
Wow.
Robin
Oh, my God. This is literally a Christmas miracle.
That's right.
2020, putting it to bed.
That's right. So today's trivia is Robin Williams, but it's also about how Robin Williams changed my life.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, shit.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. Which comedy album saved a 20-hour road trip in which I covered our station wagon in puke as a child? Is it A, Weird Al Yankovic's Greatest Hits, B, Robin Williams Live at the Met, or is it C, Eileen Brennan? So is it A, Weird Al, or is it B, Live at the Met?
Man.
I appreciate all the feelings that you're having right now, Pete, but I also appreciate how easy this quiz is going to be.
Yeah.
We'll see. What did you literally like cover the car in puke? Just
what happened was we were driving from Rochester, New York, all the way to Fort Myers, Florida, in a paneled station wagon, and I had McDonald's for the first time in my life. We were driving through the hills of Pennsylvania. My dad was trying to make up time, so I started a barf-o-rama, and we had all the windows down, and the car smelled horrible. And my dad, to save an awful trip, put in Robin Williams Live at the Met, and I was literally soaked in puke, and we all ended up laughing and having the greatest time.
Evocative.
Nelson, just drop B in the comments so we can move on from here. But it's funny, I was thinking earlier this week about the time that I puked in a cab after we got really drunk that morning. I feel terrible about that. I wish I could apologize to that cabbie.
Yeah.
Nelson says A.
It's B, but I like where his head's at.
Yeah, you know what? Let's move on. Let's say Nelson said B. Let's move on.
I did listen to a lot.
Oh, he said B. He corrected himself.
Yeah.
That night we were drinking that. There was around the holidays too, I think, Alex.
Yeah.
Was so funny. I remember that latch on the shots at that.
That was we had just gotten the show with Nerdist, right?
Yeah, I think it was maybe our first show or our last show of the year or something. And Mike Bosey, an epic drinker, kept buying us shots, and boy, did we drink them.
Oh my God. So
okay.
drunk.
All right. Question number 2. Learning about the power of comedy and laughter changed my life, but struggling as a comedian in New York City was tough. Seeing which comedian did I see on the street that not only cheered me up but gave me the strength to continue? Was it A, Greg Pak, B, Robin Williams, or C, Billy Crystal?
Definitely not C.
No.
You don't see
very
Billy
sad.
Crystal walking in the
Billy
street.
Crystal's not a comedian, I think, technically. I think he's an
You see him spitting cherry pits at a window like that.
But I remember why we were killing time here. I remember very clearly I was working at FAO Schwartz in the toy department. And I almost got fired. And I was just kind of walking around New York questioning my life choices. I went to college, and here I was trying to be a comedian, struggling to make rent, and just kind of questioned, like, what am I doing? All my other friends have like jobs and houses and stuff. And then I saw Robin Williams.
Oh, man. Nelson says B. And just to clarify, you were almost fired from FAO Schwartz for trying to fuck the piano, right?
No,
and
believe it or
I think
not.
we should question that choice at least.
Yes.
Maybe not all your choices.
I got into a giant argument with a 8-year-old kid. That's why.
That's somehow worse.
Wait, was he an 8-year-old kid trapped in an adult body, or was he just an 8-year-old kid?
He wasn't just an 8-year-old kid. He was a very mean, wealthy.
They did a study.
kid.
They did a study and showed that 90% of the customers at FAO Schwartz are adults trapped in children's bodies.
I love the idea that you had a shouting match with a straight up child, and then we're like walking the streets of New York, like, oh man, what am I doing with my life? I screamed it again. Oh man, that is so funny.
Did he say B?
Yes, he said B.
Yep.
We've ran out of music for the first time in, I think, 14 years. We ran out of music for trivia. Keep going.
I haven't laughed that hard this entire pandemic.
All right. Last one. My brother came to visit me in New York City to watch me do stand-up, and who popped in to do a surprise set? And I got to sit next to my brother and laugh like we were little kids again. Was it A, Dave Chappelle, B, Robin Williams, or C, Patrick
Carrot
Stewart?
Top. Oh, okay.
Wait, was the third one Patrick Swayze? Is that who you said?
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick
Stewart.
Warburton.
Patrick Castles.
That checks out right there.
Yeah, that does. All right, so I guess we'll have to see who it is.
Yeah, I guess
Who even knows? Nelson hasn't said B yet, but any second here.
But it was really adorable. At the time I was working at stand-up in New York as a night manager for spots, and Robin Williams came in with his mom, and he said, my mom would like me to see me do stand-up. Is it okay if I do a little time?
Oh,
wow, that's amazing.
that is
Pete,
awesome.
your life is I know we've made fun of this quiz for quite some time, but I didn't know how much your life has orbited Robin Williams.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy.
Nelson says B again. So it seems like he won a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. Nelson, shoot us an email at comicbookclublive@gmail.com. We will get that out to you. And Pete, the last secret quiz for Robin Williams. What were the answers again?
It was Eileen Brennan, Billy Crystal, and Patrick Stewart, and the amazing TV movie In Search of Dr. Seuss.
Oh.
I thought you were gonna have like Goodwill Hunting or something be the last one, but instead it's
I already knew Goodwill Hunting.
So next week, you're going to have somebody else different, or ditch this bit entirely.
We will see what happens.
All right. Oh, God. Please.
I have a feeling I know the answer.
Yes. As we all know, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day. We recommend you go wherever is safest to go get comic books. Or alternately, maybe today is Comic Book Day because DC releases their comics now on Tuesday. What are you guys looking forward to, Pete?
I am looking forward to, it's a long title. You Look Like Death, Tales, Umbrella Academy, number 4 of 6, and Ice Cream Man, number 22.
Yes. Justin, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Ooh, lots of stuff. I mean, Sea of Sorrow that we talked about, great read. But I'm going to give it up for Department of Truth, number 4.
Oh, wow.
And this comic is one of my favorite on the stands right now. It just really, it feels so current. It feels like it was written tomorrow and we're getting to read it concurrently. Like, it's just so good, so prescient. It's scary, real.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Labyrinth Masquerade, number 1.
Yeah, you are.
I am. I've honestly been kind of up and down about these Labyrinth books, but this one looks interesting. I don't know that I've read it yet, but we'll talk about it in the stack that comes out in the Comic Book Club feed and also in its own stack feed. So definitely check that out. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. And folks, I think that is it for this week's show.
Yeah.
A couple of people we want to thank before we go. We want to thank Rich Douek. Check out IDWC of Sorrows. Issue number 2 is on stands tomorrow, Wednesday. Also, Phillip Kennedy Johnson. You can check out Last God 11, which is out on stands right now. Or in March, Alien from Marvel, Superman and Action Comics from DC Comics. That's going to be awesome. As mentioned, next week is our last show of the year. We are going to be live still on Tuesday at 7 p.m. We're going to welcome 2 folks from the Blue Podcast that Pete and Justin guested on a couple of weeks back, and that was a lot of fun. Also,
it's a podcast about mostly British soccer. It was
right in your wheelhouse. Right in your wheelhouse.
I understand it. Ted Lasso was
Ted Lasso, baby. I was ready.
Yeah, and also comedian Keith Lowell Jensen is going to be here. And as mentioned, we're going to talk about your picks and our picks for best comics of the year. So please send us those our way. Check out at Comic Book Live. We'll put a tweet up, and we'd love for you to respond to that so I can cull all that stuff together. Also, Chilling Podcast of Sabrina, or Chilling Adventures of Sabrina podcast is going to be back very soon. Yes. We're going to be rolling those out once a day starting on December 31st. It is the final season, which is very sad. I do promise Umbrella Academy podcast will be back very soon, so stay tuned for that. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support the show and other shows that we do. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and more. Until next time, good night!
Take care of yourself.
Good night. Happy holidays.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.